How are we? Hope you're well. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that I've not been putting my regular weekly videos out the last couple of weeks, simply because our little boy Elis has been sadly very poorly the last couple of weeks, so yeah, it's made it difficult. But he's home for a couple of days from hospital, so I thought I'd take a couple of hours this morning just to get out of the camera, clear my head a little bit and just escape. So I'm only half an hour from the house. I've come to this stunning waterfall, Melincourt Falls on the edge of the Brecon Beacons. So I'm not too far if I need to get back. And it's an absolutely gorgeous place. And it's a really interesting place because every time I've come here, I've always struggled to get a shot. Even though it's a stunning location, I've always struggled to get something I'm really happy with. So hopefully today, nice overcast dry day, should be really good. We've had lots of rain recently as well, so that is absolutely thumping down. But it's a beautiful place. If you've not been and you're coming to the Brecon Beacons, do check out Melincourt Falls. So the other reason I'm here is I thought I'd test out the X-T4 as a one-trip camera. So I can just bring this camera for my YouTube and for my photography if I'm doing any hiking, I need to get weight down or whatever. So I'm filming on the X-T4 with a 10-24 lens at the minute, just to check the IBIS, just to see if how it tracks for the face and all that, just to give it a go. But also just to see if I can do, apologies if that is really loud, apologies if you can't hear me very well. Also just to see if I can do some handheld slow shutter photography without my tripod. I've got a tripod for video in the bag, just for B-roll and stuff like that. But I'm hoping I can do my photography and my video and everything without a tripod and just using this camera, and then hopefully get down to about a quarter of a second, because the 10-24 has got image stabilization. So I'd be really interested. I've never ever done a photograph. I see some of my friends showing off with their Olympus cameras, so it'd be nice to see if the Fuji can keep up. I don't think it's quite there yet, but it'd be nice to see if I can get half a second exposure or quarter of a second, or anything actually, anything below anything below a tenth of a second I'll be happy with, to get some nice sharp shots without a tripod. It'd be really cool. So yeah, I'm going to head up to the waterfall now. In fact, if you do come all the way along this river, you'll get amazing opportunities for nice intricate close-up details. There's some really nice sort of bits of motion within the water. It's very difficult to get down to. I've fallen down a few times, but if you can get down there and walk along, it's absolutely beautiful. There's some really cool details along the way, so definitely worth a visit. I'll put the details below, so if you want to check out where it is on the map, you'll be able to find it. Anyway, let's go up, and I don't want to be here too long because obviously I need to get back, but let's go up, see if we can grab a shot. Apologies, I bet the audio is atrocious. This is the shot I normally go for, and I'm going to try and improve it because I really like it. Obviously having the waterfall, the main waterfall in the background, but I love this sort of detail here. Try and use this, I'm going to get a portrait shot, and I'm going to be using that as my bottom right detail, which will snake round and up to the waterfall. It'd be really nice if I can get the trees in it, and I want to get the camera really close to the water without dropping it in. I'm asking for trouble bringing a brand new camera down to a waterfall, I know, but unbelievable place. It's just a case of looking out for details that the water's making, and then obviously with the shutter speed, making sure that you're not going too slow so that you lose that detail in the water. I bet you can't hear me anyway. Obviously a welly's job, but it's still not safe, and that dog's getting too adventurous. Right, let's try and get a shot. If I focus in that middle rock, 2-second timer, resting my hand on this rock, so I've gone to 1/8 of a second because there's a lot of motion in the water. So I'm just using the level in the camera to get it straight. I've upped the ISO as well because the light's gone down a bit. So I'm 1/8 of a second, f8, ISO 320. The histogram's not really to the right, but it's fine. So I'm just going to 2-second timer just to give me a few. But by not pressing the shutter, I'm not going to introduce any motion. So 2-second timer and a burst mode just shooting off 3 or 4 or 5 shots just to give me the best chance to get a sharp image. I really hope you can hear me okay. This is absolutely superb. I mean, I'm no expert with handheld long exposures at all, slow shutters. So I've never done it before. But what an experiment, just to come down to the water. I mean, my normal go-to waterfall sort of shutter speed is 1/6 of a second. And I normally use that and start from there. You could almost go shutter priority and just keep an eye on your histogram, but because instantly you're, depending on how much light you've got obviously, but your aperture is really not that important, because what I tend to do here is probably focus stack. So I've got a shot, waterfall obviously in the background, and the motion is coming around the front of the camera, and I'm just experimenting with different shutter speeds. So I've gone down to about ½ a second. I don't think that's going to work, but I'm trying to rest the camera on my leg just so that it's got half a chance of being steady. Focus on the background, but it's so liberating not having to use a tripod and move around. So the biggest problem I've got is I'm really close to this rock in the foreground. I'd normally focus stack, so I'd focus on that and then I'd get my shutter speeds right. And I know this isn't going to be as sharp as it was if I was using a tripod at, focus on the background, focus on the foreground and merge the two together. But the experience is brilliant because it's so free. You could just move the camera around and just try different compositions. I mean, I've got my wrist strap around the camera because I'm that close to the water. I don't think I'd ever get a tripod this close to the water. So yeah, really, really pleased with. I've experimented with the shutter speed and ended up at 1/6 of a second. I'd like to go about ½ a second, 0.6 of a second, but 1/6 of a second should be okay. I'm going to do right up to 1/10 of a second, just to make sure, and I'm going to zoom in later on and have a look at them rocks in the background, see how sharp they are. I've obviously got a few polarizer on the front just to get rid of the glare of the rocks, but loads of movement in front of the camera. And because nothing in the front of the camera is going to be sharp, the most important part of the photograph, the sharpness, is in the back of the photograph anyway, so I'm not really bothered about focus stacking too much. I'll try and focus stack, but handheld focus stacking, good luck with that, eh? That was great fun. Liberating, not having to worry about the tripod. It is beautiful here. It is beautiful. Hell of a drop down there. That. Hell of a drop. Fantastic. I've been down there once. it was a job to get back up again. But yeah, looking forward to seeing these shots. I really enjoyed not having to worry about the tripod. That was a new experience for me. Darken that a bit. But yeah, I don't think I got quite as slow a shutter I was hoping to get. I think between 1/6 and 1/8 of a second was the sort of comfort zone, and then they seem to be one after the next reliably sharp. So I was happy with them anyway. But yeah, looking forward to getting back now and having a look at these images. But yeah, as per normal, I've been here a lot longer than I said I was going to, so we better head back. Always fun learning, isn't it? Like an idiot, I left the IBIS in the wrong mode. At the beginning of the video, I put the X-T4 in what's basically tripod mode. So I had IBIS on, I had image stabilization in the 10-24 lens as well, and I had digital stabilization on as well. So as I started talking to the camera and moving, of course, the corner of the screen was going a bit nuts and warpy and stuff. So apologies for that. But that's an important lesson learned. I was really pleased with the battery on the X-T4 though. That was phenomenal. So yeah, really good fun. I mean, it was a good experience being able to shoot handheld with waterfalls. And I imagine, because I've got a few friends that shoot Olympus and Panasonic, they're probably laughing at the screen because yeah, the Olympus can, I know I can hear Matt now telling me you can do 3-second handheld exposures with that thing. So yeah, Fuji's not quite there yet, but it's still a good experience. But what we'll do is we'll dive over and have a look at the pictures, because I'm really pleased with how they come out. And obviously just having the freedom of not needing the tripod. What I could have done though, and I always forget to do this, even if you haven't got an IBIS camera, you could still do this. You can take a sharp shot focused on the background, a sharp shot focused on the rocks, and then a slower shutter on the water, because the water's not going to be sharp anyway, so you don't need to worry too much about keeping your camera still. But obviously to do it in one shot, then you would. But yeah, so I could definitely take in like 50th of a second there, 50th of a second there, and then 1/4 of a second here, and move the three of them to merge the three of them together. Would have given the same sort of shot. But I was really pleased with the images. I got a few, so flick through them. I didn't really have to do much to them. I'd say the exposure is pretty much bang on. I thought, looking at the camera, I thought I'd actually underexposed, but I've only had to lift it up, not even a quarter of a stop. So yeah, really pleased. Just drop the highlights down a little bit. It's all I've done. Don't go nuts on the highlights. If you drop them down too much, it looks a bit flat. So just looking at the histogram here, just making sure you're not clipping anything there. So just bring the highlights down a little bit. Lifted the shadows up a touch, but it's a really dark area in the front. So I didn't want to bring the shadows up too much and make it look HDR and fake. So just wanted, I like the tones, I like the dark area, I like the contrast of the green. It looks really nice. I just lift the whites up a little bit and lift the blacks up a little bit. But just to show you, this shot was taken at quarters of a second, and I focused on this rock here. Now that is sharp. As Fuji and Lightroom go, anybody who shoots Fuji will know what I mean, that is sharp. And then the next one, is it the next one? That's quarter of a second. What's this one? This is 1/6 of a second. So wait for it to end. That's focused on there as well, and that is definitely sharp. So I'm really happy. Reliably, 1/6 of a second, every image was sharp. I'd say it's going to be a fraction sharper if you use a tripod, but it's still very. I mean, that's definitely sharp. And there's minimal sharpening being done to the in Lightroom. I applied a little bit in Lightroom just so we could see how sharp it was, but obviously you could go nuts with that if you wanted to, but I never tend to sharpen there like that. So yeah, really pleased. But as I said, you could take 3 shots and merge them together, but yeah, thrilled with that. Now as far as the image goes, I've got a fair few of them I really like. This is probably my favourite. I love the water. I'll start at the beginning, I'll show you what I mean. So yeah, I love the water coming around the bottom here, just bringing your eye round. I didn't know what to do with the waterfall as far as putting it in the middle or to the left, but what I did like was this green going around it. And excuse my fans going nuts on the computer, that's that noise will be. It's because the screen recorder's going. That framed the water there, but it just emphasised the green, the white and the black. So what I did is I come over to saturation and I got the orange slider, which would have been like that, and just slide the orange slider down just to get rid of it and just to keep it more minimal, more sort of some very modern looking edit. Not something I normally do like that. I normally keep it a lot more honest, but what I did is I lifted the greens just to make them pop, dropped the oranges, and you've got this sort of 3 colour image, black, white and green. Really like it. So yeah, and then not really much in the way of lifting the shadows because no point. But yeah, a bit of clarity, that was it, that's all we've done. So if we go through, that's a little bit closer up. I do like that image because it's obviously nice to be closer to the action, but I prefer how you can see the green around that one a lot more. So, but do like the motion in the water. I think the shutter speed at a quarter of a second was probably about right. I think if it had gone any longer, I wouldn't have wanted to go much longer with the shutter speed because with the exposure time, because you'd have lost the detail. I really like the detail in it, so that's my favourite one because I think the detail comes through fantastic there. In fact, all I did on this one was put a grad there, just lifting the whites a little bit. Show you. So the grad goes across there, and all I'm doing is lifting the whites. And I've also, if I come down to saturation, dropped the colour down a little bit, just to get rid of any sort of like nastiness in the colour. I normally do that with waterfalls because you can get like a bit of brown in the water, so I always desaturate them a little bit. But that is it. So yeah, thrilled with that. And this one, obviously that's a raw because I've got that water splash there, but thrilled with it. Really pleased. Love the colours, really cool. So yeah, now I know the limits of the camera reliably. I got 1/6 of a second comfortably out of the X-T4, so I'm really pleased with that. It just means that I know that is the lowest I can go. Now I might experiment with 1/2 a second. That would be really where I'd want this camera to be. I think I'd like to be able to reliably get 1/2 a second exposures from the camera, especially in scenes like that. But 1/4 of a second, I'm absolutely fine. 1/6 of a second's fine. No issue with that whatsoever. And it's definitely a case of knowing your limits, knowing what your camera can and can't do. Working with that, but yeah, it'd be really exciting to be able to do some travelling and hiking without a tripod, using one camera for filming and photography, and knowing that if I see a waterfall, I can grab shots like that without worrying about a tripod. So yeah, really excited with that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know which of the 4 images you think work best. I think the 3rd one. But let me know which one. I'll put them up at the end, but let me know which ones you think work best. Thanks guys, take care, I'll see you again soon.